Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the week ahead preview. All right, now I'd like to see the markets come through Monday and see how they settle down, with the weekend geopolitical news before I sort of really, start to take a bit of a scoping around what's happening. Now, as you can see at the moment, a bit of a risk off profile. Okay, you've got the US equities down. You've got Euro, Sterling, Aussie, Kiwi down. The odd one out is the yen, and the dollar pair is generally rallying. Okay, so that's a nice profile to start with. When you can identify that, you sort of feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay, you sort of know where the initial pressure points are, and I'll come into where the equity markets are getting hit. Usually, it has been in the last sort of 12 months. The Fed raising interest rates, right? They raise interest rates, equities get hammered. This sort of scenario. Now, I know there is I think 0.75% factored in next FOMC meeting, but there is a lot of concern around China's COVID lockouts. There's been massive protests in China. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I wouldn't sort of be confident with protesting over there, but and then also pressure on Apple, pushing equities down, etc. So let's just have a look around at the start of the week. Okay, get a look at the market, see what's happening. Right, this makes sense. So that's great. But what you need to do is go and find out what is causing these issues. Right, it's no point seeing what's happening. You need to understand why are equities coming off. Right, why is that risk off profile in there? And you'll start to sort of read around, find out, what's happening. Treasuries yields little change as Fed officials counter notion rates cuts beckon. I mean, there's some weird things happening, and I'll show you the yield curve in a minute as well. But just come back, work out what's moving the markets, then you can start to sort of piece things together. Now, if I just have a look at the charts, you always want to come back and technically have a look around what's going on. Now, the dollar index, right, we've seen the pressure since the weaker US CPI numbers, a few weeks back, 3 weeks ago or thereabouts. We are starting to come back here now, and the dollar, okay, further interest rate hikes, uncertainty globally around global growth, that's going to lead into a US dollar safe haven buying situation as well. So we could see the dollar here start to have a bit of a run, and you can see Euro's had a great run back up. So it's starting to break down. Gold, well, it's not coming off yet. It means there's a little bit of uncertainty in the market itself generally. Oil is a little bit lower. You've got the Dow Jones E-mini accounts there, the futures accounts. You can see that's starting to break down. Not seeing the same in the NASDAQ at the moment. Bitcoin, obviously, I mean, the cryptos with FTX under huge amount of pressure. Then you've got commodities. Well, they're still going up, right? Which sort of generally would support Aussie and Kiwi, but that's a different thing altogether. Now, what we are sort of looking for is if you come over here to the currencies, right? Have a look here. It's a lot clearer. You can see different instruments, different asset classes. It can become a lot clearer itself. You can see the dollar index here, just coming up towards this level. Dollar Swiss about to break. Dollar yen, it has picked itself up the floor, but we saw a massive move there, like already this year. I don't know. It's in between safe haven, strong dollar, all this sort of scenario. Dollar CAD sort of trading mid-range. Even as oil is falling, right? So that sort of puts upward pressure. Well, the whole oil price, it should actually have this the other way around. But let me just have a look over here. Euro, the dog's barking here. Everything's going off. The Euro going down. Sterling breaking. Aussie breaking as well. Kiwi sort of breaking down, but we still haven't really broken through support there. So there is a clear technical setup which sort of matches this risk on profile. So you might want to have a look at that, right? And just coming back into the major data for the week now, we've got non-farm payrolls on Friday, right? The first week of the month. Market is going to be pretty pumped for that. But the US CPI numbers are the day before the FOMC the following week. So that's probably where the major action is going to be. But if I just go up here and highlight the really, high impacting numbers, you can start to sort of piece some action together. Looking at, if I just get you on the right screen, I'm changing things here and you can't see it. Right. So Wednesday, right, November the 30th, you've got some inflation numbers out of Germany, GDP numbers out of Canada. I don't think GDP is a thing yet, right? When normal market economies or normal economic conditions are back, inflation's under control and all these things, that's when you're using GDP to gauge are things growing or weakening. At the moment, no one really cares about GDP because we're not there yet. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on these inflation numbers out of Europe. I mean, obviously everyone's very sensitive to inflation numbers. Thursday, you got the ADP employment change. Now, a lot of traders like to use this as a bit of a lead into the non-farm payrolls. They're not the same data, right? So don't get sort of bent out of shape. I mean, I've seen the job openings, the JOLTS job openings sort of impact as well. But, you know, we're waiting for the non-farms really to get the show rolling. Unfortunately, this month we've got the Canadian and US employment numbers at the same time. It's a bit of a calamity. Keep an eye on Fed Chairman Powell speaking there as well. It's sort of like Wednesday afternoon in New York, and then you've got some personal spending numbers there, right? So we've got US numbers here to really give us a bit of a driving force, right? Powell talking, obviously the non-farms is going to be the key data. And that sort of led into, if you look at last month's non-farm payrolls, we got a weaker print unemployment rate, right? So that led to a weaker dollar, and that showed us that a bit of a connection with inflation. Inflation numbers were weaker, and there we were as well. So there's a bit to play for. If anything, I think the following week is a better one, right? That's where the real ticket's going to come in. And you can see here the inflation rate, US inflation rate, and then you got the FOMC there the following day, right? So, or later that day. So it's huge. Next week is much better. But if you're looking to get started, there's plenty of data coming out. Just connect the dots, and that's where you can make things add up. All right. So outside of that, guys, it's, we've got good technical setups, but we just don't have the crunching US numbers to give us the huge confidence to jump in with a bigger position. I'd be keeping things a little bit tight myself, as in smaller positions. This week seems to be one of those ones where you could probably try and add a bit of cash to your account. It's not going to be the big kicker just yet. And the non-farm payrolls is, for a number of years hasn't been the best number because it's so erratic and volatile that you can get really bent out of shape trying to chase the actual release itself. Better to sit back, wait for the numbers to drop, work out where the trend is going to come into play. And that leads us into the US CPI numbers the next week, right? I know for those traders who are really dedicated to trading day in, day out, may not be the best news because you like to sort of hit the markets every day. But I tell you what, that's not the way to trade. And you want to save your good cash for those really good trading opportunities. At the moment, risk off. Expect Euro, Sterling, Aussie, Kiwi to sort of drift lower. You've seen that risk off profile across the cryptos, obviously across all equity markets. They all follow the North American equities. And that's where we are at the moment. All right, guys, have a good week. Any questions, jump on the 247 Trade Zone there, and I'll answer your questions. Cheerio.